welcome back to the Bliss Bean. A couple of months ago, I did a phone tour where I showed you a couple of tricks that I used, like making my phone grayscale or minimizing my notifications in order to improve my relationship with my phone. Since then, I've discovered a couple of new tricks to help me trick myself, basically, and change my behavior when it comes to my phone. My question was, how can I make my phone a useful tool, but only when I need it? Because I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having a phone, but you have to make sure that you are using your phone and your phone isn't using you. So let us begin on the home page. I was really excited for widgets to come out in iOS 14, and then I was very disappointed by their execution. You can't do anything with the widgets, they just show you information and then you have to go to the app to see more. I was very excited about the possibility of a Spotify widget where I could have shortcuts to my evening playlist, workout playlist, monthly playlist, but unfortunately this is all they came up with and this is pretty useless. So the only widgets that I am currently using are a brief calendar, my activity rings, and then the smallest weather widget that you can get. If I swipe left, then I get a full weather forecast just for 5 days, not a full week for some reason, and then predictions from my cycle tracking app. So comment your predictions below. So the first app I have in my dock is the Done Habits Tracker, and I like this particular habit tracker because it's just so simple and colorful. If you watched my video last week where I showed 17 different daily and weekly habits that I have, you might be thinking, this is not 17. So I try to keep this app really nice and simple because I don't want to be in this app all day long trying to meticulously track every aspect of my life. Even though that is my tendency, I try to avoid it. But like the exercise habit, I just use my activity rings to track that. Weekly routines like organizing photos or doing weekly planning, that just lives in my to-do app. I have the camera app because you can't be a blogger without taking photos of yourself. The Day One app is a journaling app. My paper journal is kind of boring and tedious to read through. So in here, what I want to do is just write a couple of sentences about what I did each day, attach a photo, and I think eventually it'll be a really cool record of how my day-to-day life changes. This is my time tracking app, and if you are a veteran viewer of the Bliss Bean, you will know that I was a really big fan of this app called Now Then Pro for time tracking. I still do have it on my phone just because I'm too lazy to export the data. It's a great app, but tragically it does not have an Apple Watch app. And so I went looking for an app that does have an Apple Watch version, and this one called A Tracker was my favorite. Honestly, I've liked it a lot, maybe even more than Now Then Pro. So I might just have to redo my entire time tracking video, but it has a lot of features that Now Then Pro doesn't, like being able to record simultaneous tasks, being able to apply different tags to tasks, or creating goals. Other apps I have on my home screen, this is that same period tracker, photos app. Daily Aloha is like a little daily journaling prompt. This icon is a shortcut that I created that takes me to a note with all of my hashtags for Instagram posts. Normally it opens up instantly. I don't know why it's showing the shortcut screen, maybe because I'm doing a screen recording right now and it can't handle doing all this stuff. But yeah, then I have my to-do app, Things 3, Spotify. This is my sleep tracking app. I actually slept really, really well last night. Look at that. And then I have my bank app because I try to check that every day. And that is it. That is the only page that I have on my phone. So at first, when this app library feature was announced, I did not understand it, so I didn't use it, which I do not recommend. Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean you shouldn't check it out. But I was very set in my old ways, and so I had like 4 pages of apps and 1 folder on each page. Basically, my idea was to try and hide everything away. I had the distracting apps on the very last page, so I had to swipe all the way to get to them. Now I finally looked into what the app library actually does, and I realized it kind of achieves the same purpose. I have no small number of apps, so I don't want to go and call this like a minimalist phone because I don't know what the cutoff point for number of apps on a minimalist phone is, but it's probably not what I have. I do go through them and delete stuff that is no longer useful to me, but for example, apps like Uber or Hostel World or Hotels.com, those are not going to be useful to me anytime soon, obviously, but I also don't really see the point in deleting them if they're not getting in the way. So here's what we're gonna do. The app library organizes all of your apps into these automatically suggested folders. So we're just gonna go through one by one. I actually really like the design of these folders. Good job, Apple. So Safari, I actually considered disabling Safari, and then I realized just how much stuff I look up throughout the day. So I'm keeping it for now, but it is walking on eggshells. Juice Watch is an app that shows you how much battery you have left on your watch and on your phone. It can also send you notifications when the battery gets too low or when it gets charged to a certain percent. Productivity and finance. I recently started using the Bear app instead of Google Drive or the Notes app, just trying to consolidate everything into one place. I've been trying a lot of new tools and apps lately, and I did a newsletter a couple of weeks back where I listed them and the reasons why I'm trying them. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the description. I mainly only use Bear on my computer, but I have it on my phone just in case I need to reference something. Idealista is an app for looking for apartments in Spain, which is not really currently that relevant to me, but Revere is a cool app for keeping track of personal contacts. I'm not going to open it up because pretty much everything on there is personal information, but instead of like an app that lets you scan business cards for professional contacts, this one helps you to keep track of information about friends. So like friends' birthdays, notes about your friends like gift ideas or their favorite foods. Going back up to the Apple Mail app, I don't like the Apple Mail app. I use Gmail like everyone does. And so I used to have the Gmail app on my phone, but I've decided that I don't want to have easy access to my emails on my phone. So having a mail app that I do not enjoy creates a little bit of friction. It's there if I need to find some piece of information or reference something, but it doesn't send me notifications. It's clunky and I don't like opening it. There is this feature, however, that I learned about where you can set contacts as VIPs. So if I am expecting some important email, like I remember one time I needed to upload a video, but it hadn't gotten approved, but I needed to upload it that day. I had other stuff to do that day, so I didn't want to be on my email all day just like refreshing and waiting for that email to come. So I set that person as a VIP and I only got notifications when they emailed me. I used to keep YouTube on there because, well, my excuse was that it would be really easy to copy the link for a video and then share it in my stories when I was trying to promote it. I can do that on Safari. It's just a tiny bit harder, but the problem with having the YouTube app on my phone was it was a huge distraction. Because I was able to kind of wean myself off of other social media apps, I would find myself clicking on the YouTube app just to scroll through my recommended feed. I wouldn't even watch anything. I would just look at the titles and thumbnails and use that as entertainment. So that had to go because that was kind of sad. I deleted the YouTube Studio because I know that checking the numbers is not good for me. Pinterest, I had reinstalled it for my room makeover, but as soon as I was done with that, that was gone. And then Twitter, I'm a very passive user of Twitter. I don't tweet, I don't like, I don't comment. I just watch and read and consume. So when I want to use Twitter, I have to go through Safari and I'm not even logged in, so it is a much less engaging experience. Instagram is kind of the necessary evil, and then FaceTime, messages, phone, and WhatsApp. I consider those to kind of be the basic functions of a phone, so those get to stay. I do have notification badges for everything except Instagram because I don't want to have to click on these apps to see if there's anything new, but the notification badges don't really like stress me out because they're not immediately on my home screen. For entertainment, I have Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and my Gyms app. I don't know why that is considered entertainment. The only reason I have Apple Podcasts is because Spotify doesn't let you add a custom RSS feed, and I am subscribed to the Minimalist private podcast, which you can't just find through searching on Spotify. In creativity, I have this app called 8mm, which makes it look like an old camera. I often will use this as an effect in my videos. This app is constantly trying to sell me a premium version, and then it shows me ads. But whenever I have something that I want to share on my Instagram stories, for example, and there's some sort of private information on there, this is my go-to app. Canon Camera Connect and Nikon SnapBridge are apps that let you control your camera remotely, so I'm using the Nikon one right now. I love Adobe Lightroom for editing photos. Usually if I take photos with my camera, I'll edit them on my computer, and if I take them with my phone, I edit them on my phone. A lot of people have asked me about what presets or filters I use on my photos. They are presets that I created myself. I did at one point attempt to package them up and sell them, but I was getting really frustrated with the fact that I just could not make them look good on all photos, and I didn't want to feel bad or responsible if they didn't make your photos look good, and so kind of gave up on that, but might pick that project back up again someday. Perfect Video is my favorite app for editing quick videos for Instagram stories and stuff like that. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I had to do a Zoom call. The PixArt app, I think I've only ever made one collage with it. The main thing that I use it for is, say I have an Instagram post and I want the second slide to be a landscape photo. I have to add borders to it in order to make it a 3:4 ratio. And so far, PixArt is the only app that I know of that does that. I don't think Lightroom does that, but if I'm missing something, please let me know. And then we have Storylux, which is for designing Instagram stories. I don't use it that much anymore, but if you're looking for something to design aesthetic stories, I like that one a lot. And finally, Unum, however it is pronounced. This is the app that I use for feed planning. So I don't really plan out my feed in advance that much, but when I'm about to post a photo, I upload it here just to see how it'll look against the rest of my feed and then make tiny adjustments if I need to. All right, the next category is health and fitness. So the 7-minute workout app is the first app that I started using when I basically first started doing any sort of exercise outside of gym class at school. So this is the app that I credit with any level of personal fitness that I have today. I really like this affirmations app. I have it set so that I get 15 affirmations to my watch per day. Insight Timer is a really great app for finding guided meditations or just a timer with some relaxing sounds in the background if that's what you want. Shift is a cool app that I recently got if you want to go running and alternate 5 minutes of running with 3 minutes of walking. It'll automatically switch between playing music for 5 minutes and then podcast for 3 minutes. Sweat Deck, you assign an exercise to each suit of a deck of cards, and then you have to try and get through the whole deck, basically. And then finally, this is a simple mood tracking app. I like that it takes the data from your health app to import how much water you drank, how much you exercised, how much you slept, and so then that can help you find correlations. Travel apps, looking at this makes me kind of sad, so let's close out of that. My games folder is pretty small. I try to focus on games that you play with other people, especially if you play them in person, so Heads Up is a great example of that. Oh my gosh, I just noticed that she has a mask. The information and reading folder I think should be combined with the education folder. I don't know why they did that, but Libby is where you can borrow ebooks with your library card. I've known about it for a long time, but I didn't start seriously using it until COVID started. It has been a lifesaver. Papago is for translating Korean, and then I have Spanish Dict for translating Spanish, and then Great Courses Plus for learning about stuff. In the final other category, I have CoStar for the brief astrology phase that I had. I want to be the type of person who is interested in and believes in astrology, but so far I've not been able to convince myself, but it's a fun app. And then finally, I have the Philips Hue app for controlling the 3 Philips Hue light bulbs that I have in my room, and then the iLightShow app connects to your Spotify account, and then it analyzes the music so that the lights flash in sync with the music, which is really, really cool. Some apps that I don't have anymore, I used to have Netflix and Hulu, but I deleted those, partly to prevent myself from watching it on my phone, but also if I want to stream it to the TV, it just adds a little bit of friction. I either have to go and get my computer to stream it or re-download it on my phone. I used to have Zillow. I like looking at studio and 1-bedroom apartments in random cities around the United States, but I can do that on the computer, and also not a super productive thing to do considering I'm not moving anytime soon, but it's fun to see what the market is. In my last video, I talked about how I set my phone to grayscale. That was something I used to do a lot, and people would ask me a lot about it as well. I definitely still recommend that feature, but one of the problems for me was that it was a triple click shortcut, and I would bring my phone back to color whenever I needed to post a photo or edit a photo or watch a YouTube video or just anything where I needed color, and I would often forget to switch it back to grayscale just because it was so easy to turn grayscale off. I've just found that hiding my apps or using my watch to replace a lot of the functions of my phone has been a lot more effective in reducing my phone usage than the grayscale trick or trying to set individual time limits on different apps. But basically, the moral of the story is you just have to find what works for you. So if you haven't tried the grayscale trick, try it out. Maybe it'll work better for you than it did for me. I hope you got some ideas for how to organize your phone from this video, maybe some app recommendations. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!